Welcome to Business Unveiled, the podcast designed to help you thrive in the creative community. Here's your host, events and productivity consultant, Angela Profit.
Hi, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Business Unveiled. Expert tips and secrets from top creative industry professionals, where we take you behind the scenes of our past experiences in the creative industry and share with you what we have learned from them and how they have made us stronger. This podcast will help you grow a productive and profitable business to launch you into success within the creative industry. Today's podcast is being brought to you by the GSD Retreat. It's for badass business owners who want to get shit done beachside in Cabo, Mexico on December 2nd through 6th. This is an annual business strategy and content planning retreat to come and join me and several other amazing speakers in a spectacular oceanfront bedroom villa for an intimate business retreat where you will experience not only fun and friendship, but we want to get shit done for 2019. Do you actually block time on your calendar to work on your business, to plan for consistent content and for consistent marketing each month? But you know, something always comes up. I want to invite you to come to spend 3 full days with me collaborating with like-minded business individuals looking to get this done, to knock it out. I will show you exactly how to put together an annual plan with content creation, images, weekly schedule, and so much more. You will leave Cabo with a solid plan to crush 2019. If you're interested, I want to invite you to visit bit.ly/GSD retreat. Come spend 3 days with me in Cabo, where you will leave with an amazing, amazing plan where you can fast track your personal and professional goals, leaving you with the return on investment of being absolutely priceless. Visit bit.ly/GSD retreat. Hey, y'all, it's Angela. Thanks so much for listening. And as we are starting another episode of Business Unveiled, Adam just said, we're taking a shot of bourbon, which is a little bit too early for me for that. But I'm super excited to talk and interview the literally funnest trio that Nashville has to offer in the multimedia sector. It's called Details Nashville, and we've got Adam, Austin, and Kanan. And I'm going to go through, just since we have several people on, and I'm excited for them to share with you all how they run such a diverse company, because with the creative industry and all that goes in behind the scenes to photo, video, it's not that easy, people. And to have a really great personality and connect with your clients, that's something that they have really mastered. And so first, we've got Adam. Adam is the managing director. He's one of the owners of Details Nashville. And we've also got Austin. And I know Austin focuses on the photography side, the video side. He's really a media specialist in the technology, being the tech geek like I am, behind the scenes. And Kanan focuses on photography as well as directing videos, which is not the same thing as shooting videos or editing videos. There's a lot of layers to videos. So we'll talk about that. And he's really in front of the camera. Like, he is the creative. He's helping the client be creative. So he's not on the technical side. It's really like if you've seen The Greatest Showman, you know, kind of like that. So welcome, team. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's a privilege to be on.
This is awesome. I'm so excited for our listeners just to learn how you guys work together as a team. Because oftentimes I'm only talking to one person on the podcast. And so this will be really fun to give them a behind the scenes look, and just through the lens, no pun intended, through the lens of like how you guys do it and how you work day to day, just in sales and just being entrepreneurs. So first, Adam, tell us how and why you got into the industry and what made you want to launch a photo, video, multimedia company in the creative industry.
Yeah, so started the company 8 years ago. And, prior to that, we were all kind of friends, hanging out and all doing similar things within the industry. But we decided to kind of bring it under one roof and to kind of work on that together. But specifically with, the multimedia side of things, something that's been a passion of ours since day one is just telling people stories. Something we've really been into. We've done that across the board, from like a nonprofit sector, lifestyle, photojournalistic. And then that kind of bled into weddings is kind of where that, started. At first, I wouldn't necessarily say prior to starting details and be like, hey, I'm a wedding photographer or wedding videographer. But we did have, that media background and started telling people stories with a few different weddings. It was like, man, this is something that is very unique, and it's a very intimate and personal story that we get to tell for people. And something I personally really love about weddings is that they are all unique. And, we're not a cookie cutter company. So, every wedding that we do is different. And we try to really communicate a lot with our clients beforehand, find out what their expectations are and find out what's valuable to them. Each wedding is different in such a way that, we can shoot a wedding on a Saturday and the person's like, oh my gosh, my family is like the most important thing. And I really want, lots of photos of my family. And then we shoot a wedding the very next day. And the person's like, yeah, I just want lots of photos of me and my friends having a good time on the dance floor. And, it's just whatever those different things that are valuable to the person is what we want to be able to capture through our lens. And for that reason, we really just love telling that story, regardless of what it is, and making it a personal and creative outlet for the person.
That's awesome. So I know that you guys were all friends before you actually started all working together. Austin, what was your background before starting to work with Details Nashville, and how did you decide, like, okay, this seems like a good idea, like we should do business together?
Yeah, I have been doing photography for a long time. Got a scholarship for it in college many years ago.
Wow.
And so it's been a part of what I've done for a very long time, and back to high school, and so I've always done, and that kind of led into doing weddings, of being like an on-campus photographer that I was during college, and then people started getting married after college and calling me up. So I was kind of a part-time wedding photographer for quite a few years. And then meeting Adam and the guys and getting together and realizing that we really could come together and do something so much better. I wouldn't have to be just, part-time photographer. I could actually do it full-time, which is always something I wanted to do. But the business side, it's just not my strength. And so it definitely is Adam's strength. So to have him on the business side, where then I could take on going from part-time to full-time, it was just awesome. The way it came together, it worked out so well. It was just so organic, and I mean, it happened fairly quickly. I was able to quit my other part-time job and just completely go to photography and videography. So yeah, it's been a really awesome journey.
So when you transitioned from doing just for fun, part-time, and you transitioned, was there a whole like life experience mood change and like, hey, I'm a happier person because I get to focus and do this full time? Or was it just kind of the same? Like, oh, I'm just glad I get to do this.
No, it was definitely a very big change. I was working part-time at Trader Joe's. It was nice. It was a good job to have part-time and then do part-time wedding photography. But being able to come together with my friends and do it all the time it was really a dream job. It still is. So it's in that way, I think it's just a really good cohesion of things that I love doing. But I'm not working by myself. I have a group of awesome friends around me together. And so that's really fun. It was a really big change all of a sudden. And it was all for the better. So.
And that's what I want to hear. You're able to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
And Kanan, what was your background and how did you decide like, okay, I'm going to work with these dudes and we're going to do this?
Yeah. So I have a history and background in photography as well. I've been shooting since I was a kid. My grandfather was a photographer. He actually shot with Jacques Cousteau and his team way back in the day. So growing up, I always had these photos that he had on his wall in his office, and they were like these it's like pictures of like tiger sharks and sea turtles, and they're all in Baja, and they're all signed by this weird French guy. And so finally one day I asked him, we were in his dark room doing some photos, and I was like, who's this weird French guy signing all these big photos? And he like told me the story, and those stories really got me into photography as a kid. And then as I got older, I kind of got out of it. I moved to Nashville. I got a job at Gaylord. Didn't really have any intention of shooting professionally at all.
Wait, you worked at Gaylord?
I worked at Gaylord when I first moved to Nashville. Yeah, over
you didn't know, did you?
No, I had no idea. So I was like, definitely a cog in the wheel of the corporate monsters here in Nashville. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
We're not going to edit that out.
Hey, can we? Sorry. No, but so the guys, I'm like working at a Gaylord. It was actually, I had a really good position out there. I kind of moved up quick in the banqueting department and was doing like VIP wine and cocktail training. And the guys approached me because the team was expanding, and they're like, hey, our team's growing. We want to know if you want to come on and do some photography work. You have a background there. And so I was like, yeah, okay, so I'll try it. So we went out on a couple weddings with them just as a third shooter. And from there, just very quickly was like, man, I love this. And I love working with the guys. And I had already been friends with them for a long time. And so then the opportunity to do business with them as well as doing life with them was just like, that's like the icing on the cake. So it really took off really fast, and the transition was quick. And I was like, man, I think I'm going to go for this. And we just haven't looked back. So been going for almost 10 years.
That's awesome. So I feel like something to point out here that's really important is, Adam, being one of the owners, you really focus on the business side. I mean, all of you are great. I'm sure you can all pick up a camera and shoot great photos. And if you had to work video, you could all do that. And, you got each other's back. But when you really focus on your strengths and your craft, and Adam, you having the business mindset, and then Austin, you focusing on behind the scenes and technical, and then Kanan, you focusing on the front of the house and the creative part. How does that set you guys apart from, other multimedia companies?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail right on the head there. Like basically, we each have our strengths, and we're able to utilize those strengths to, be a very efficient and effective team. I think oftentimes with creatives, photographers, videographers, oftentimes it might be like a husband and wife duo or something like that. And they may struggle with more of the administrative side of things, or they may have a hard time with the business savviness, or, sell themselves short, or, there's other, perennial downfalls that creatives may have sometimes with the, side of the, business. And that's something that I've, gifted at, been good at, both, logistics, operations, as well as sales and, management. And so it's been really cool to see how we've all been able to work together. And, these guys can focus on what they do really excellent. And that's take awesome photos and shoot great videos and be able to produce art for our clients that is exceptional. And they don't get bogged down with, having to send invoices or make sure contracts are, the correct legal jargon, and all those things that feel soul sucking to them is, kind of exciting to me. There's things that I enjoy. So over the last few years, even more so than, when we started, I've tried to say, hey, like, what are your strengths? Let's just focus on that. Not worry so much about the weaknesses that people have, and trying to make people's weaknesses better, it's like, that's probably not going to change too much, but let's really focus on, what you're good at. And then we're going to capitalize that to make you excel even more. Recently brought on another new photographer, and he's been working with us about 9 months now, but it was really cool for him to tell me he used to work on his own, and he's partnered with he works for me now. And he said that he's the most creative that he's been in his whole career since partnering with us, because he doesn't have to get, all his time and energy isn't getting bogged down with doing these other administrative things that he's just not good at. And to be frank, so he really is able to just to focus on his work and his art. And it's his most creative that he's been in his whole career, which was a really cool thing to hear. And it was even testifies to, what I'm talking about here, that every person is able to kind of just do their one part and do it well, as opposed to trying to wear, 17 hats and try to do everything.
Yeah. And I mean, that's really the point that because I have worked with you all, and obviously, owning a company myself, we work with a lot of different photo companies, video companies, multimedia companies. I do a lot of consulting, and you all just don't shoot and video weddings and capture that, but you all do a lot of corporate stuff. You've got a lot of experience in helping companies brand themselves and working through the strategy of that. In fact, we have collaborated on some of those projects, and just in my experience in working with some other companies, not that they do it wrong, but the experience in working with a company that has, going back to true colors, all the different colors and true colors. And it's like entrepreneurs typically hire people that they like, but you all have sought out and you understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and really focusing on that. And I will say, just from a customer service perspective, and me being a client for my clients, is the turnaround and the focus is just so different. The experience is so different. It's much faster. Just the process that you all have created. For example, I know that you guys shot a wedding for us on Sunday that my team executed while I was in Hong Kong, which it broke my heart to miss it. But you can't be in two places at once. And,
right.
The client knew that. And it's like, I knew within that week that it's just like I wasn't going to have FOMO, because you guys do the teaser and you put it up on the blog and you share it on social media, and you have these best practices with a process. And then when you do video, you get the teaser out, so take us behind the scenes of how did you all work through those processes, and how have you come up with them? And then I want you to explain your roles and how you work together as a team. And like, for example, like I know, like two of you shoot it, and then some of you edit it. And then I don't think people understand behind the scenes, like what it takes to really run things so genuinely, like with customer service, being the best, but you always follow that process and you all have consistency. So how have you all maintained that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is Kanan, but I think all of us can chime in at different points here. But to start out, I think a lot of these processes have come from just our internal culture of meeting and hashing out processes and talking about ideas and coming up with these things that we'd like to do. Or here's a great idea. It would be awesome to day of get our clients, our bride, some photos from her wedding day, post it on social media, make sure we text it to her so she can share. And she has some professionally edited photos that day that she can share with all of her guests and her family. And then the consistency there. So there's the great idea, right? This will be awesome. This will be a great experience for our client. And then the consistency in the process usually comes down to Adam and Austin figuring out how we're going to do that on a tech side. And then Adam being like, okay, so now I need to bring my creatives down to earth and make sure they actually execute these ideas. Because otherwise, that's often all it is here's a great idea. And nothing ever happens.
It stays the land of conceptual,
right?
Doesn't go to practical, so.
Which is always the struggle, But with us having the relationships that we have and us working to our strength, it's like, hey, I've got this really great idea, and then Adam's like, that's awesome. Let's figure out how to execute that and make sure we're doing it for our couples.
Yeah, if I could add to that too, I think Kanan mentioned kind of our culture. I think we have quite a few things working in our benefit to be able to collaborate in that way. I'd say a lot of photographers, if they have a second shooter they hire, they're not meeting with that person a lot. Whereas we call it our media house. We have a house, it's our office. And it's just for our multimedia stuff. And we see each other basically every day. When we have ideas, we can immediately bounce them off each other because we're around each other all day. That's where I'm editing all week long. And so I think it's a benefit that we have. Instead of working with several people we see sometimes when we shoot together, instead we're seeing each other basically every day. We're there all the time getting our stuff done. So it's an atmosphere of collaboration and teamwork.
So do you feel like you all are, instead of being remote, you feel like from a creative perspective, you all can get more done and accomplished together as a team when you're together, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think a lot of, so many people are remote these days, but when it really comes to collaboration of pumping out creative content, it really is important. And I know even with some of our clients, when they can't meet face to face, with Zoom and with Facebook or not Skype or FaceTime.
Yeah.
I've noticed like you always make sure, that you all make the best effort to show up as a team, and whoever's going to be capturing that event, especially a wedding, because it's emotional, right? That you are meeting that client, which I think is really important. And so I think that you all have a very unique handle on the market because you are a team and you are together every day, just about. What would you say, and I'm sure each of you have a different perspective. So when clients come back to you, like what are the things that they love most about what you guys do?
Yeah, so I think what most often comes back is the relational aspect. I think we have a really good track record of connecting with our clients and making it personal and building a relationship there that, I can't tell you on a daily basis, I am interacting with at least one couple that we have shot in the past on social media. And we're shooting their kids and now we're doing their family photos. And we have done that from the beginning of wanting to make that something we did differently, that we weren't just going to turn and burn through our clients, but that we were going to build these relationships that would last. And it, for us, it makes even those photos that we shoot that day that much more special because there is that connection.
Yeah, I think one of the highest compliments that we can get is one that we get often. I feel like when couples after the fact will say, "Oh man, that was great having you guys. It was like having my friends hang out, taking pictures of us." And it's awesome. We've gotten that a lot, and it's kind of a big encouragement to us that we're on the right track with it. To have a couple feel so comfortable with us there, that we're not like awkwardly in a corner or whatever, all the different scenarios that could happen. But we're there. We're like a part of what's going on in the day, and we're just like their friends there with them.
Yeah, I think even more than the couples sometimes is we're getting compliments from the guests. We're getting compliments from the wedding party, from the parents of the bride and groom talking about how easy we made their day, how special we made their day, how great we got along with everyone and relaxed tensions, or just made the atmosphere more enjoyable. I think another thing we do is our photo books. People really love something tangible, and living in such a digital age, we really lack those tangible elements to look back on, especially with something with a wedding. And so, those are something I get to sit down with the client. I custom design every single one of them. We work through with the client what photos they want, how they want it designed. It's something that's very personal. It takes a lot of time and is something that they're going to look at, for the next 20, 30 years and be able to share with grandkids or people, throughout their life and be able to relive that day. And I think that's something that's really special too, that we get to do for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely can tell that it's very custom and unique to that client. And I will say, in terms of just connecting with people, when you guys are thrown into a setting, like recently we planned a wedding, I think in like 3 weeks, because our sweet little bride was pregnant, and she was like, I'm in my 40s and I'm pregnant and I don't care about a wedding, but my parents want me to have a wedding. I'm an only kid. And she's like, just hire your people and here's some money and just show up. And literally, like, you guys like met them, the morning of, and, you just figure out a way to like fit right in with everything. And so, not everybody can roll with that. They just, they can't.
And they were awesome. We got a chance to, like, after the wedding, they were like, hey, we're going down to the speakeasy downstairs. You guys want to come for drinks and hang out? And unfortunately, we had to get home to our children. But, just the fact
like a football team.
Right. But, just the fact that, like, just meeting them, but we were able to break down those walls really fast, connect with them. And, to the fact that we're like, hey, let's go drink together. And when you can drink with someone, you're getting along. So,
yeah. So you brought up a good point there. All of you have families, you're married, you have kids. So let's tell our listeners how big your families are.
All right. Let's start with the most. Adam, you can start.
I have 5 children. I have a boy, girl, boy, ranging from 20 months to 10 years old. And I was done having kids at 3, and I warned Austin of this yesterday because he has 3 kids, and he's like, we're done. I was like, I was done at 3 too. We called up my daughter Hope. She's our 3rd. I was like, we called her the caboose. She was done. She was the end. And then we had a 4th. I was like, oh, cool. All right, we're done now, 4. And then there's a 5th. So I think I finally figured out where babies come from. It took a little while. I'm a slow learner, apparently. But So then we'll go to the next most children.
Yeah. So I have 3 girls right now, and I have another baby due in June. So I will have, I think this one's going to be a girl. We've been surprised every single time. We haven't found out the gender of our kids at all. So this one will be a surprise too. I got a feeling it's going to be a girl. I for whatever reason, I don't think the Lord wants me to have boys. So I'm getting daughters, which is wonderful. I love it. Everyone tells me it's great until they hit puberty, and then they're going to hate me for 3 years, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So I'll have 4 kids, 5 and under. So I've been very busy, and yes, to answer the question for our listeners, I'm very tired.
A funny side note about Kanan, it was in what was it? It was December. No, it was November. Yeah. He and I had a talk, and he was like, hey, I'm done having kids. I was like, cool, man. Good job. And then 2 weeks later, on his birthday, we were in Atlanta shooting an event down there, and he was like, well, Liz is pregnant again. I was like, bro, you just told me you're done like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me too. So we were like, oh, wow. Here we go.
You know what causes that, right?
Yeah, same with Adam. I just, it took me a while to figure it out, and I think I found the source. Yeah, for sure.
But how do you all manage and put boundaries in place to make sure that you make time for your family and your kids? I mean, right now is probably the most important time because you all have young kids. How do each of you balance that and create boundaries?
Yeah, I think that's come a lot from the fact that we are more than just working in business together. We're friends. We've known each other a long time. And when we started the company, it was never just to make money. It was never for just gaining profits. We wanted to create a business, not only for our clients, but for each other, for ourselves, for our employees, that was different, that had different values, that had different things that we cared about. And one of those was family, and being able to spend time with them, and being able to see our kids and raise them. And starting the business with those values at its core, I think has made all the difference in being able to manage as we've grown and as we've gotten bigger, and making sure that we're prioritizing those things, not just for ourselves, but also for each other, keeping each other in mind and be like, hey man, you've been shooting a lot. You should go take this Saturday off. We'll shoot, one of us will shoot for you, go to your kid's soccer game or whatever it is, or dance, and making those things a priority for each other.
Yeah. I think it's really just comes down to managing priorities. Like we're kind of piggybacking off what Kanan's saying here. those things that we value should occupy most of our time and should be, prioritized, within our week. And we do try to, keep each other accountable to that. And, I will typically say, hey, the next, 4 to 6 weeks, it's crazy busy, it's coming up. So let's make sure that, you talk to your wives, you tell them this time's coming, you let them know like it's going to be long weeks for a while. Let's take some time before and after, go away for a weekend or, whatever. So trying to, mitigate those things to make sure that, we're holistic people in all areas of our life, our families and our work and everything is in good standing, and that we can thrive in all of them and not just survive, because that sucks. If we ever have a company where we're just like barely surviving, I should sell it or quit or something. I want to thrive in all aspects.
Yeah.
And that's something that's super important to me. And I want, everyone and their families to know that they're taken care of and they're considered and they're valuable. And it's not just, like Kanan said, about making money. It's about a lot more than that.
Yeah. I mean, I think something practical that I know me and Ad, I think all of us do this is like, just a very practical thing. It's like, when we get home, it's like social media is off. We're off of our phones or put it away until after the kids are in bed or, they're doing something else. We make sure that time's prioritized, that our attention is focused at home when we're home and not being dichotomistic with our time, being present, it's really important.
And I feel like you all can do that well because you have a team, because it's just not, a one-man show. You really have the team. So in terms of just challenges, I mean, you've almost been in business for a decade, and I'm sure, Adam, from the business side, you have challenges. And then I know from the creative side, Kanan, there's challenges. Austin, from the technical side, there's challenges. If each of you can just go through like some of the challenges, mainly with just like technology and business, and what have you been experiencing aside from the growth of Nashville and how it is booming, which helps all of our business. There's plenty of business to go around.
Right.
What are some challenges that you guys have had to face, like as a team and as a company?
I think one challenge that we've had is even. It's a little bit kind of in our name. Details Nashville is not as personal as some other companies where it's, someone's name, John Brown Photography, something like this, where it is, you're like, oh, it's this guy. With us, it is a team, and we found the solution to that maybe initial impression of being impersonal. We've found the solution to that is just to meet a couple, because they'll meet us and go, oh wow, that was great. Their team is awesome. But I think initially our name might not communicate that. They're like, oh, what's Details Nashville? I don't know what that is. Who is that? So I think communicating our team dynamic and really what we're about, I would say has been a challenge here and there. That's why we really do like to try to push to meet people in person and have them understand, really what we're about and who we are. So that comes to mind as a challenge.
Yeah, I think on a creative side, kind of piggybacking off of what Austin was saying, with our name being Details Nashville, it is not this necessarily personal name experience that you're getting with us. But, what we've done is, as Austin said, meeting in person really helps, where people are like, oh, here are the faces behind the company. And then on a creative side with like our social media and our website, creating content and pushing forward content that is personal and that is intimate and that is real, kind of sets us apart there, because what it does is it's content that's inviting, that feels like the client is able to connect with it. I think if you go to our website, you can see it on our landing page. It's like this group shot of this couple kissing. Everyone is like celebrating, losing their minds, and there's a sun flare coming through it. And it's like this very engaging, very personal, intimate photo. And it's a real moment. And so it's like being able to create that as well kind of helps us get past that not having a personal name experience behind our brand.
I love that it's like a love-hate relationship, like with having, if you stop and think about it, like the brands that are the names,
Right.
Adam, you mentioned earlier, I would just sell the company or do something else. But when it's your name, it's not really that easy unless I guess you're Martha Stewart. I remember like my brand manager years ago when I was like, kind of changing my brand, like it's cool to do that now. But when we started this business, like we didn't know a damn thing about branding. I didn't even know what
Right.
that word meant. And so, it's just interesting how when you have one of them and it's like, okay, I've tried to call things different names and we have a team, but in reality, if I was hit by a bus tomorrow, like would the company still be going? And so there's processes and procedures in place, but sometimes without the name of the person and the cheerleader, like it ain't going to go anywhere in the service-based industry. So by having a name that is, it's all in the details and, being Nashville based and living in Nashville, I feel like, people, and again, you've overcome that challenge. People
Right.
need to meet you in person or see the personality of how you guys really work well together. But if you could change anything about that name, would you? Because I know you travel a ton, you do a ton of destination weddings and events in corporate. And I feel like every time I'm talking to you guys, you're like, oh, I'm going here. Oh, I'm going here. We've got this and this.
Yeah.
So in my head, when I asked that question, I was wondering if you were going to say anything about details Nashville because you're just not in Nashville. So how would you go back and change anything about that? Or how do you overcome the challenge of your name with the word Nashville in it, but you do a lot outside of Nashville?
Yeah, this is a conversation that we have revisited multiple times over the years. And I think at this point, I really don't think we would change anything. Where we've become well established and people know our name. And it's gotten to the point where the name's no longer a hindrance in those regards, as far as like booking destination stuff or traveling or, people being like, well, your details Nashville. Do you just work in Nashville? We really don't get that question too much anymore. I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that with social media, with Google, everything's so digital now that the name doesn't necessarily ground us to one location so much.
Okay, so that's good to know. So tell our listeners, like, where all have you all worked? I mean, where are some of your favorite places that you guys have shot photo and video?
Yeah, so I mean, all over the country. We've been to the Caribbean.
I like the Caribbean the best.
And for like that's specifically for weddings, for because we do commercial, we do branding, we do nonprofit work as well for multimedia. So I mean, we work all over East Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America. We're really all over the place in all seriousness.
Yeah. San Francisco to New York. I mean, we even that just I don't know the last 6 months. I think.
Yeah, I mean San Francisco, New York, DC, Florida multiple times, Atlanta,
San Diego,
Charleston. Yeah, I mean we're kind of been all over the place. This year we have a wedding in the Dominican Republic. We got another one that we got an inquiry today about going back to the Caribbean in
St. Kitts.
St. Kitts.
Yeah.
We did a wedding there. You've been there before, the Four Seasons Nevis.
Yeah.
And it's actually at the, what hotel is it?
It's
the
Park Hyatt.
Park Hyatt at St. Kitts. So it's not a Nevis, but it was actually friends of the people we shot there a few years ago, and they highly recommended us. So they're meeting with them next week to go over photo and video later this year, which is actually coming up pretty quick in November, which would be awesome.
Referrals are a lot to us.
Yeah, referrals are probably, God, I don't know, 60-70% of our business with weddings. It's been huge, especially over the last probably 4 to 5 years. It's just continued to increase. So,
And so, do you guys always go as a team?
Yes. So our model for quite a while doesn't matter if it's photo or video, there's always two of us. And so it doesn't matter what the destination is, there will always be at least two of us there for the gig. One, just because it allows us to cover more and provide more for our client. And then two, like we just work really well together. When you've been working with each other for almost a decade, it's you don't even have to think about it. So we know each other really well. We know what the other person's going to capture. We know how they shoot. It just makes things a lot easier logistically and creatively.
The potential stress of photographing a wedding, it could be a very stressful thing, but I do not experience that at all. Working with people I know and love, I know what they're going to get. They know what I'm going to get. I can't imagine shooting weddings alone like I used to do many years ago.
Well, I specifically remember I was doing something in Antigua on a private island, and at the last minute, it was actually a photo shoot. It was a content creation photo shoot. And something fell through with their photographer and their video person. So, I asked the question. I mean, they're a very strong luxury high-end brand. And, just from experience, I just asked the question. I'm like, so who's capturing this stuff? Because I would just like to look up their work. And so Adam knows where I'm going with this. Well, you probably all do. And so, then it's like, well, Angela, I mean, we're in the work, we're trying to find somebody. I mean, it was just like scramble, like literally the week of. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not going to ask a lot of questions, but I'm like, I can get someone, but like, let me check around. I mean, you got to have a passport. And, and what I love, like, I reached out to you guys because they said, well, first, the marketing director, she's like, do you know somebody that can do like photo and video? And I'm like, it doesn't really work like that. Even if one person can do both really well, the outcome of capturing the content is not going to be at its best. And that can ruin not only the brand for the resort, but the brand for the photo video company. And so I was like, no, like even before I asked, I'm like, you need 2 people, period. And so then it was like, well, then we had to get into more questions. So like, how long are we going to be shooting? And for those of you listening, I don't know if you've done I'm sure you've done photo shoot. I don't believe in photo shoots, quite frankly, unless they're actually going to be real things that can be really recreated.
Yeah, if you can't duplicate it.
If you can't duplicate it, why the hell are you doing it and slapping your brand on it? I will never understand that. We've had people say, oh, well, we'll pay you to do this and we'll pay you to do that. And it's like, but it has to be, be in alignment with like what I talk about.
Right.
And this was, and, but it's still a long day. It's still 10 hours of shooting. You have to really rely, when you're in the Caribbean, you have to rely on the weather and the lighting. And so you have to wake up and go to bed, like all off of that. And so we got into talking and I really thought like you guys were going to have to come and cover this. And you guys were like, one of you were like, well, I'm going to have to like drive to Atlanta and get a passport because mine's expiring. And you're just all, even though you have large families and you're like, we'll make it happen because we have a relationship. And that's the key to having a good relationship, having your vendors backs. And then, I told Adam, I'm like, well, the marketing director's asking this. I already know the question, but how would you like for me to address this? And just the way that you said it was, we want the best outcome for the brand. And without 2 people, then basically it's like, you're going to have to turn down and say no. And so do you y'all have that issue a lot where people are like, oh, I don't want to pay for 2 people's flights? Or do you ever have people where you're having to explain and haggle, or it's just like they get it, you get the plane tickets and you move on? Like what are y'all experiencing?
Yeah, there's been times where people have, said, well, we really just want, this one or, whatever. But, most of the time we're able to spend time educating people and helping them understand, the value that's associated with, having multiple people there, having a more holistic perspective captured, even for the simple fact of, different people have different strengths and, it's nearly impossible for one person to, do all these different things, that'd be expected. Now there are occasions, if it's like a smaller shoot or something like that, it could be done by one person. It just depends on what the scenario is. But the ones that we think that would need multiple people there, I refuse to compromise that quality for the sake of making money, because my company's name is going to be attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ensure that it's the very best representation of what we could give them. Because even if they're saying, well, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. Well, we're probably not your company then, because it does have to be, to me. You know, my tenacity for quality is through the roof, and you know, I won't compromise that for pretty much anything. So.
No, that's true. And so one key word that you said, educate. So educating potential clients on why you do something. I know I feel sometimes I get frustrated. I feel like a broken record. And when you've been doing this for a long time, it's like, okay, if you're reaching out to me, you clearly have done your homework on some things, and having to explain why this and why that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, Jesus, we do it this way for a reason. Just trust me. But being patient and explaining and educating really goes a long way, and respecting the fact that, you know, if the client is trying to haggle, and it's like, well, then we can't take on your job because we're going to only give you our best. And it's, and I mean, you guys are living proof, like, do your passion, do what you love, the money will come, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you have to have a strategy. You can't just like open up and then do nothing, right?
That is
plan
true.
of how to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so in addition to you guys and your team, I know like you guys have editors that you all, other services that you do. So same day edits. If I guess, Austin, I know Tristan's not on here, but in terms of editing and same day edits, you guys offer that. You do the slow-mo video booth, which is still the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then the custom photo booth. So if you guys could talk a little bit about those services and what that means.
Yeah, we've over the years been able to incorporate more of what we are able to do. The slow motion booth is a good example of an idea. I think Adam approached me years ago on a weekend. He saw this video and like, hey, can we do this only better? I was like, I don't know. That's a lot of technical stuff. And within days, basically, we had a huge booth set up. So that was a very quick expansion into slow motion video, which was it's been a lot of fun. That
real side quick note with that, my wife, whenever I was, you know, thinking about this, and like it was a Sunday, and I remember vividly, but I was like in this crazy creative thought process mode, and I was like, man, we can do this and this and this, and she kept asking, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just working on something. And she's like, what is going on? Like, she was like, you're so weird. But I spent like 4 hours like just really hashing through like, what can we buy, what camera, with this. I'm like talking with Austin. But like the fruit on the other side of that has been just tremendous, which was really cool to see. But I remember that day, Austin's like, leave me alone, bro. You know, like, it's like, and I'm like, no, like the moment's ripe. We have to do it now.
I was like, Adam, you don't even understand how much money this is.
And I'm like, no, I understand.
Like, yeah, we're going to spend it.
I mean, we spent like $50,000 that week. I was like, we're doing this, and we're going to do it now. Leaving it. This has to happen. And it has to happen now before someone else does it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. That was a side excursion.
But yeah, so that whole opportunity opened up, which then eventually kind of led into making photo booths, which I do some woodworking and things on the side, and I was able to come up with some handmade hardwood photo booths. That's expanded greatly. I think I have a team of 8 or 9 people running photo booths almost every weekend now. So that's been a whole nother area of our business to take off. Yeah, it's a lot.
But again, each of you manage these things and you put a leader on it, and then you all have each other's backs and you back each other up. And I love that. And I will say, I don't think I've ever seen another slow-mo video booth, but it's like, in the way you guys edit it and do it real time. And when people look at the investment, they're like, holy shit. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand the production of it, the back end of it. So really, like, explaining and educating people. And then the outcome that they get is with a lot of corporate companies using that footage to promote an event or a fundraiser or something that they're going to have each year so people don't have FOMO. It's like, you don't want to miss this.
No, without a doubt. And I think too, it's like, I remember when the iPhone 6S, I think, came out, and it had like shot in slow motion or whatever. And all these people were like, oh man, you're like, slow-mo booth's going to get shut down. And I was like, I am not intimidated at all by, a little phone. And I've helped people to, again, educate them to know, like you can, say like recording a song. Like you can record a song on a MacBook Pro in your living room if you want to. And that's fine. It will be okay. And the quality will be, moderate. Or you can go to a studio on Music Row downtown and record a professional album. And our slow motion booth is that professional album, and your phone is recording it in your living room. So it's like kind of depends on, what you want, and you get what you pay for type thing. And people have understood that, and they've seen the quality difference that's represented there.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that analogy, especially being in Nashville, because it is like, and it just depends on the outcome that you want, for your brand or for your business or whatever company or wedding that you're doing. It's funny when people will look at some of the photos and look at some of the videos that we have collaborated on. And then they're like, oh, but I don't want to pay that much. I don't need that many people. And it's like, well, then you're not going to have the same outcome as these people because they invested. And so on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say most of the people that probably hire you guys, 10 is probably the most important for the outcome, is all you have left after all the money that you spend for an event or for a wedding or branding shoot or whatever you do is freaking photo and video.
Yeah.
So have you all been getting more with branding and content creation and YouTube stars and all of that? Have you all seen an increase in people contacting you all just to do content creation from a video perspective as well as photos?
Yeah, we have. It's actually been, it's something we've always done and never really pushed it too hard, but it's something that has really, in the last year and a half, 2 years, really taken off for us as far as actual content creation for other brands from a commercial branding perspective. And actually a lot of those inquiries come from social media. Ironically, they see often me and Austin on Insta stories, and they love our personalities and our brand and our interaction and like how those things are cohesive and how they work together. And so they'll just DM us and they'll be like, hey, really digging your guys' vibe, would like to talk about doing some content creation for my brand. Here's the links, etc. And the conversation sort of starts there.
If people like to see me get made fun of, I guess.
So if you guys do not follow Details Nashville on Instagram, you got to go do it because their stories are absolutely hilarious. And for those of you listening, and I know some of you that I coach are listening, soak up what they just said, like the behind the scenes. It creates business dollars in your pocket, people. People are like, I don't like to do that. I don't, yesterday I was on a coaching call and one of the girls, she's like, but I'm just not good at that. And you jump on and like, you don't have any makeup on and you're in your PJ. I'm like, but that's real shit. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You gotta be real. People want to, I don't know why people want to see real behind the scenes. I guess to connect with you. But that's something that you guys do incredibly well. I'm sure it helps your Instagram engagement by doing the stories and doing them consistently. And then the other great tool that I think we use really well is collaboration of different companies is Marco Polo.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
we have a lot of different fun because you can add people to groups. And so my team and y'all's team, will get on Marco, and that way everybody's on the same page and we all hear the same information. So that's another great way do y'all use that to connect with your clients at all?
We haven't really. Instagram and actually just text messaging. That's how we do most of that. I use Marco Polo for like other collaboration work though. with different people who are doing like social media consulting or whatever that may be, like just different groups to get like feedback and toss ideas around. It's such a great app for interacting on those levels.
Yeah, it's something I considered doing with clients because you did introduce that, and I thought that was something that was important. And also that time I went and heard you speak at the EO event, and one of the guys, he was talking about how he uses that all the time. One of the CEOs that spoke with his clients, and I was like, it is a really great tool, especially considering when communication, like a stat I recently read was 93% of communication is nonverbal. So being able to see facial expressions, tonal inflections, like being able to really know, hey, is this person angry right now, or are they joking, or like being able to read them. It's a more effective way to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something that I would like to try to incorporate into our workflow more so. It's even, because to me, it's easier than like, a FaceTime. You have to like set it up, and it's like you have a meeting. But with Marco Polo, you can just, send them a message, and when they get a chance, they can check it within the next day, or whatever. It's not super time sensitive. So I think that's something I'd like to figure out how to make it part of our workflow.
Yeah. I didn't know. We use another app for clients called BombBomb. It's not free, where Marco Polo is free, but it gives you the analytics and tells you like when people watch it, and if they watch it the whole way through, and if they forwarded it to people because they can share it and all that good stuff. So
That's cool.
I love the communication tool. Well, unfortunately, guys, we are out of time, and I could talk to you guys all day about this stuff. But let our listeners know, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website, www.detailsnashville.com. You can find us on Instagram. Our handle is just Details Nashville, and it'll have our logo as the picture icon. And our Facebook is the same, Details Nashville, and same for Twitter as well. Yeah, consistency across the board there.
Yeah. Which is key. Consistency is key with social media. So Thank you so much for your time, guys. This was so much fun. Thank you for sharing like behind the scenes and really like through the lens of how you guys work together as a team. You do an amazing job. And thank you to all of our listeners, and be sure to tune in next week for another juicy episode of Business Unveiled. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Angela.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Collective 615, a luxury co-working community and space designed by women for women who desire to connect, collaborate, grow professionally and personally. The community is for women who desire a work environment that inspires and motivates them to elevate both professionally and personally. Collective 615 goal is to have a community of business women who are at different places in their entrepreneurial journey. They offer a range of memberships to make it obtainable to invest in yourself and your brand. All programs are developed by creating diverse courses, speakers, and events that provide professional and personal development. If you're looking to collaborate, connect, and create with like-minded people, the women of Collective 615 believe in investing in you and your brand. If you're starting a business, growing your current one, or you're working from home or remotely and you need a place to work or to host workshops and events, visit collective615.com today. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with your friends. And I'm so very grateful if you leave a review. Be sure you are a subscriber so you never, ever miss the juicy details of Business Unveiled. Also, be sure that you are part of my email list. And if you're not, sign up today at angelaprofit.com, where I share valuable resources and exclusive products with only my subscribers. Now, before I go, I want to ask you, if you have a story or a product to share with the creative industry, please let me know. To be considered as a guest on Business Unveiled, visit angelaprofit.com and submit a podcast guest form. Until next time, remember to stay productive and profitable.
You've been listening to Business Unveiled with Angela Profit. Join us next time as we share our experiences to help you be more productive and profitable in your creative business. For more great resources, visit angelaprofit.com.